Today, we're diving into a fascinating roadmap, what it truly takes to become an AI researcher.
Yeah, and what's really compelling about the material we looked at is just how comprehensive this journey is. It's not just a simple checklist. It's a very practical guide, really, covering everything from the basic knowledge all the way to these advanced career paths and what's, well, a super dynamic field.
So if you're listening and maybe thinking about this path, or you're just curious, our deep dive really highlights that it all kicks off with a solid educational background. We're talking computer science, mathematics, maybe engineering. But what if your bachelor's isn't quite in that zone?
That's a really good point. The source material is pretty clear. While those backgrounds are, let's say, ideal, a strong master's degree in AI or machine learning can definitely bridge that gap. And the key thing here, I think, is why that foundation matters so much. It's about mastering the underlying language of AI. So that means really strengthening your math skills, things like linear algebra, which is fundamental for handling all that high-dimensional data neural networks use. Calculus, too, for understanding how models actually learn and optimize. And probability, statistics vital for dealing with uncertainty and checking if your model's any good. And beyond the math, it's mastering programming, especially Python. Plus the whole ecosystem, right? Libraries like NumPy, Pandas, and then the big ones like TensorFlow or PyTorch for actually building models. The source even nods to places like Coursera, EDX, MIT OpenCourseWare for getting that solid grounding.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting in the source material was the shift, from just the theory to actually getting your hands dirty. It really hammers home that once you have that groundwork, the next big step is practical experience. It's not just it's what you can do with it, right?
Exactly, yeah. Knowledge is best when you can actually apply it. So the source points to things like internships, maybe at tech companies or in academic labs, places you tackle real problems. Talks about working on research projects, building your own AI models, maybe from scratch, and even, jumping into competitions on platforms like Kaggle. That's where you really sharpen those technical skills, learn to deal with messy data, figure out why your complex model isn't working, that kind of stuff.
Right. So after you've done all that foundational work and the practical application, the path seems to, it branches out. You have to specialize, don't you? It's not a field where you can stay a generalist forever.
Not really. Not if you want to be at the forefront. The source material clearly shows that after building those general skills, it's about picking a niche. Which brings up the question, okay, what areas? The source suggests key domains, machine learning obviously, but then deeper dives into deep learning. Think CNNs, those convolutional neural networks for image stuff, or GANs, the generative adversarial networks creating realistic data. Pretty wild. Or natural language processing, LLMs, large language models, and transformers are just changing everything there, how machines understand us. And computer vision too, things like object detection, letting machines see. Choosing one lets you get really deep, which is what people are looking for.
And it seems you can't just be brilliant working alone in your basement. The sources really push the idea of sharing your work, building a presence, publishing papers, right? At big conferences like NeurIPS or ICML sounds like the major leagues for AI research. And sharing code on GitHub, writing blog posts, being active online, which leads straight into networking, joining groups like IEE or ACM, going to those conferences.
Oh, absolutely critical. Yeah, for impact, but also just for your own growth.
Yeah.
And contributing back. And finally, the journey doesn't just stop when you land a job. The source really underscores the absolute necessity of continuous learning. This field moves incredibly fast, so staying updated with new courses, constantly reading research papers, keeping tabs on industry trends, and ultimately, this kind of dedication can open doors to really cool advanced paths, postdoc research, maybe working in top industry labs like Google or OpenAI, or even becoming a professor.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener, becoming an AI researcher, it's clearly a whole journey. It blends that tough education with hands-on work, finding your focus, and getting involved with the community. It really feels like a path of constant discovery.
Which does raise a fascinating final thought, doesn't it? In a field where the cutting edge seems to shift almost weekly, how do you not just become an AI researcher, but actually sustain that? How do you keep making an impact, constantly adapting, sorting the real breakthroughs from the noise? Something to think about as you dive deeper into this really fast-moving world.